Welcome to The Disciplined Life. I'm Aria.
And I'm Coda.
We use our experience as a married couple living in a domestic discipline marriage to talk about the ups and downs of implementing authority structure and domestic discipline into modern relationships.
Let's do it.
Hey guys, welcome in. This week we are talking about our recent experience with a domestic discipline boot camp. I put out on Instagram as well as our Discord for our patrons a call for questions because I wanted to make sure that as we were talking about this that we were going to cover any questions that you guys had that we may not have thought of. We got some really good questions.
We got quite a few, which is really great.
Yeah, we got quite a few questions and quite a few that I did not think to cover, so I'm glad that I did that, and let's get started.
Okay. Did you follow a specific schedule? How did you come up with it? So, yes.
So we did follow a specific schedule. How did we come up with it?
We sat down and we talked about what we really wanted to accomplish, and you kind of gave an idea of how you thought things would go, and then I got to have some input, obviously, of how I felt like it should be structured as well.
Yeah, we just looked at what we wanted to do, the things that we wanted to be set points. And so we put those in, and then we made sure that we built in at least a few hours in between the structured activities so that we could have time to just talk or watch a show or just do things that we do as a couple to build our relationship and grow our relationship and just have that quality time together that wasn't structured. So
well said. I don't have anything to add.
That's how we came up with it. Okay, the next question is, what did you learn most from the experience?
Me first? You
first.
I think the biggest thing that I learned is how much that I thought we had structure in our relationship, but not until we did the boot camp did I realize how much more structure we needed and how important that was to our relationship. And so, like I said, I thought we had structure, and it's not like it was just chaos, but I realized we needed a lot more, and we needed, to have consistency and things like that. But I realized how important that is to our relationship in order to accomplish the goals that we have as a couple and as individuals. And so, yeah, that was the biggest takeaway for me.
I think the thing that I learned the most throughout this experience is that I have a lot of growth to do on my side too. I think that it is easy to look at your partner regardless of which side of this dynamic you're on. It's easy to look at your partner and say, they need to grow in this area. They need to improve in this area. And sometimes it's harder to look at yourself and see that you also have a lot of growing and a lot of improvement to make on your side and in your role. And I think that this process really did kind of forced me to be a little more introspective about the things that I was doing that needed to change and areas in my role and in my submission that needed to grow. So that was my biggest takeaway.
What worked well? What didn't work for you? Honestly, I don't know if there was anything that I don't think worked very well. I really feel like because we had discussed it beforehand, and you had read that book and gotten an idea of how it was to be structured, but we structured it in a way that we knew would work for us. I don't think there was anything that didn't work, in my opinion. I thought everything worked really, really well, that we stuck to the schedule really well. There were parts at some point where we thought outside the box a little bit, but we didn't discard anything. So I don't think anything didn't work. I think it all worked. for us.
I would agree for the most part. You know, I think because we have been together as a couple for 20 years, we've been married for 16, we've been doing domestic discipline for 5 years. We have a really good understanding of what works for us and what doesn't. Like, we have kind of worked through a lot of the things that don't work well. And so we went into this process with a good understanding of what would work for us. And we structured it that way. The only thing that I think that did not work well for us, and you're going to agree once I say it.
And I go, oh yeah.
The only thing that didn't work well for us is in the book it really suggests staying home during the entire duration of boot camp. Like, do not leave your house for any reason. And by day 2, we were just like, this is not our life. Like, this
a little bit of cabin fever.
Yeah, we were completely just, that part was it was actually starting to make me really emotional. Just the fact that I felt like we lost a part of our relationship.
She's like, I can't leave the house. No. No.
But it really didn't work for us. And so we decided, you know, we're going to go to lunch because we enjoy spending time together in that capacity. And to a certain extent, I understand why the suggestion is to stay home, because you want to be able to have immediacy in discipline. And if you're out in public, you can't have that immediacy. However, I was like, this is part of our daily lives, and we need to learn how to function in this capacity while still performing our schedule and our activities and leisure time the way we typically do.
And nothing happened, but I think you knew, especially if something did happen, we'd go home and take care of it right away.
Yeah.
Once the lunch was finished and whatever. So, but nothing did happen. And in fact, I felt like it added to the boot camp. It made things better for us in our relationship, personally.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what worked, in my opinion, was having a really structured schedule. Having anchor points in our schedule that just structured our day. That worked so well for us. And was there anything else that really worked well? I think the relationship building activities
Yeah,
too.
that's what I was going to say the most, that I thought was I learned a lot more about you and this is always good, even when you've been married to somebody, as long as we've been married, to learn some more things about her through the relationship building activities, and also to realize, wow, we're on the same page on a lot of things that perhaps, I don't know for sure, but perhaps we thought we were not on the same page.
Yeah.
But when we did some of those, it was like, oh no, we share those same viewpoints and outlook on things. And so, no, those were really good.
All right. I think it's my turn to read. Was it easier than you expected, harder than you expected? Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good answer, because there were some areas where I thought, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, and then there were some areas like we were talking about by the third day, but really the fourth day, the final day, we were mentally. It took a lot of mental effort, which is good. Like, I'm not saying that was bad, but it took a lot of mental effort. So by the third day, but especially the last day, we were mentally tired. Like, our bodies were physically tired because we were mentally tired. However, that was what I would describe that as is a tired feeling of a job well done.
I would say that it was easier than I expected from the standpoint that I was expecting the strict structure and the discipline aspect to be a lot more daunting than it was. That was actually a lot easier than I expected.
I would agree with that.
And then what I didn't expect, what I expected to be easy, was the relationship building activities, because I was like, we talk all the time. Those were a lot harder because it just forced a level of introspection, it forced a level of communication, and it was ongoing, because typically when we have those conversations, we have one conversation a week, maybe, that gets that deep, and this was like several a day. And so that was a lot harder than I expected. Not hard, but like just a little more difficult of a process than I expected. And that's what took the mental energy from me. The other aspect that I found difficult, and by the third day, what I experienced is the way we structured the scheduled punishments really forced me to process a lot of things retrospectively that we had pretty much moved on from, but not on a subconscious level, so they did need to be addressed. The emotional process of realizing that these things that we were talking about were things that should have never gotten to this point, that was a really difficult emotional process for me. So all in all, it was a really it wasn't easy, but there were aspects that were easier.
That's a great way to describe it. That's how I would describe it.
And then there were
yeah.
aspects that were harder. So
What were you hoping to accomplish through the boot camp? Did you feel it was successful? Well, I'll answer the second part first. Yes, I feel like it was successful. Yes, it was a successful boot camp. What we were trying to accomplish is we felt that we had lost some connection. Like our marriage, our relationship was not in a bad place. But we wanted to take our relationship to the next level. We wanted to connect on a level that we hadn't been connecting with our domestic discipline, but also with as individuals. And so this was for us to get our relationship, as far as domestic discipline is concerned, back on track, or even potentially, I even say like a new track that we were trying to get on. Bring ourselves closer together as a couple, but also, I can say for me, this was to help establish for me habits as a leader as a head of household. And as the head of the relationship, to establish really, really good habits that I had just been lacking. And because I had work, because I had school, we hadn't had an opportunity to really sit down, talk about those things, and do something like this. And so we felt like, I'm off from work right now, I'm off of school, this is the perfect time for us to do a boot camp to establish good habits, to bring our relationship, to get our relationship on track the way we want to, and to help us start the new year off right by coming closer together. Yeah, I do think it was successful, and that's what we set out to do.
I would agree. We wanted to fast track some progress that we had been wanting to make, that we had been talking about making, and we just were not in a place or really had the experience in order to make those changes. And those changes felt like really big changes because they were. But because they felt like really big changes, it felt like something that we were really dragging our heels on and didn't feel like we could incorporate or try to accomplish with things like work and school and daily schedules happening. And so we just wanted to fast track some of that progress. Like you said, you wanted to grow in your leadership, your consistency, things like that. I realized that I had a lot of growth to do in my submission and my obedience, and kind of fast tracking progress in that area has served us well. And I would definitely call this a success, but it's not. I'm being really careful in my mindset not to feel like we accomplished that. We had an end point, that's done, right. Rather than this is the launch pad, this is the beginning, this is the starting point to the rest of our relationship.
It's keeping that momentum going.
Mm-hmm. Did you change how you discipline, or was it the same thing more often?
I would say yes, we changed our discipline because it's not that our discipline was bad before, but the boot camp had this thing of like mild, medium, hard, and severe. And so that's what we changed, because a lot of times the spanking was just kind of like, here's the punishment, here's the spanking. Now we have more of a tier system or a severity of, depending on what is what has happened, the punishment will be done according to that, what category it falls under. So I think that's the biggest thing that we changed. And I think that's really going to serve us well. It's serving me well, I can tell you right now, as the leader.
I agree with you that we kind of learned how to structure our discipline a little bit more. However, the way we did discipline throughout the boot camp was very much the way we were already doing it. We did not follow the recommendations of the book. We looked at what we were already doing and decided within our structure and how we were doing discipline what would make our spankings more moderate, what would make it hard, and what would make it more severe. I think that one thing that you really were able to change through the boot camp is the way we do maintenance. So the way we've used maintenance in the past is to process like stresses and overwhelm and emotional processes that I'm going through. And those spankings look a lot different than just setting expectations and setting the tone. And so during boot camp, I kind of gave him a heads up. I was like, I am not going to be stressed and overwhelmed every single day. So you really need to use these maintenance spankings, because we did have daily maintenance. It's like you need to just use these maintenance spankings to set the tone for the day, because we did it in the morning. And I said they don't have to be long or drawn out. You don't need to look for that emotional yielding and letting my guard down that we typically do, because that's just not going to be my mindset, and that's not going to be where I am. So just use it as a way to set the tone for the day and reiterate expectations. And I think that moving forward, if we have a week where we are going to do maintenance and I'm having a really good day, I don't have anything to really process through, you can pull from that and you can say, okay, this is how I'll structure this maintenance because she's in a good place. With not letting go of, like, if I need a harder, more drawn out maintenance to process through some stresses or overwhelms, we can still do that on a normal basis. Yeah, so did our discipline change? Yes and no. We were able to just kind of structure it differently.
I think the word is we refined it.
Yeah, refined is a good word.
Yeah. At some point, did Coda feel bad for the amount of discipline or feel bad for you? No, I mean, that probably sounds terrible, but I didn't, because we had already agreed, obviously, before. Obviously, we talk about always this being consensual. We had already talked about boot camp. We'd already talked about how it was going to go and why all of this was important. And so, no, when we went through this, I definitely used it as an opportunity to say, no, this is the opportunity for you to hone your skills as a leader and as the head of household, and when you give discipline as a disciplinarian. And so, no, I used it as an opportunity to make sure that I was definitely setting myself up for success, setting her up for success. And those were, as we said, the punishments that were done were important to wipe the slate clean, but also to communicate, here is the new standard going forward. And so in order to do that, you can't feel bad. You have to follow through and realize this is the benefit for your partner and your relationship. So no, I would say nope, I didn't feel bad at all.
And I think the reason why you didn't feel bad is because of the way we structured the scheduled punishments. Do you think it would be beneficial for everyone to go through a boot camp? Yes and no. I think that I'll start with the no, right? If you are in a relationship that is experiencing real disconnect, as far as, like, if you are experiencing major relationship issues, if you are experiencing things that, mental health crisis or infidelity or things that would be better addressed through couples counseling with a licensed professional navigating you through that process. Boot camp is not going to fix those issues. However, if you are in a otherwise healthy relationship and you just have a level of disconnect and you are actively in a domestic discipline relationship, or you are highly motivated to start a domestic discipline relationship, boot camp can be beneficial. And I would definitely suggest it to everyone that kind of meets that criteria, that their relationship is in an otherwise good place and they just want to kind of grow that connection to the discipline side of their relationship further, and to kind of jumpstart some progress as a domestic discipline couple.
Well said. Aria's already kind of covered it. You know, if your relationship is in a really bad place right now, this is not something that you want to do. You want to seek counseling. You want to seek things that are going to bring you guys back together. But if your relationship is really in a healthy place and you're trying to form healthy habits and really take your domestic discipline relationship to the next level, if you fit into the area that we were just talking about, then yeah, I think it's beneficial for everybody to do something that people are having success with. We had some success with it, and so yeah, give it a try. The worst thing that happens is that it doesn't work for you, but I think you'll be surprised at how well it does work. What did you learn that you didn't know before? The biggest thing I learned about myself was that I can be a strong leader without being a dictator. And I can be a strong leader and also be sympathetic and gentle and kind towards her at the same time. And it's possible to be all of those things, and it's possible to hold her accountable to the rules, without being a dictator, without being mean, without being demeaning. So those are the things I learned about myself. What I learned about her is that she very much desires this more than I realized. I already knew that she desired it, obviously, but really wanted me to be that type of leader that I was being. She desired that, and that she needs me to be that way in order for her to accomplish the goals that she wants, to feel secure, to feel all of the things that she wants to be as my wife in this relationship. She needs me to be that way. It's not just that I need to be for the relationship to work and the things that we're trying to do to work. She needs that in order to be the person that she wants to be and needs to be. Mm-hmm. So
I think the biggest thing I learned about myself was that that I didn't know before is that I am capable of more self-control than I thought I was.
That's good.
That I really do get to choose my behavior and my responses. And the thing that I learned most about you is that really that you are motivated to be a leader and a disciplinarian and the head of the household more than I thought you were.
I just needed a little direction was all. Mm-hmm. Motivation was not the problem. I just didn't have the path.
And a lack of direction looked like a lack of motivation.
Right.
To me in the past. And I learned that, no, you are highly motivated to fulfill this role. And that's probably one thing that I learned about you. So,
what's next?
Did you do it at your home or did you go somewhere special for this boot camp? We did it at home.
Yep, we did it at home. What does DD boot camp entail?
Do you want me to go through it quickly?
Yeah, why don't you? Yes.
So a DD boot camp is basically a concentrated time to focus on building the structure of your relationship, focus on building the connection within your relationship, and just to focus on who you are as a couple, coming together, learning about each other, and structuring discipline to set expectations for the future. So what it entails is having a daily schedule that is either similar or identical every day of boot camp. Having a boot camp last, anywhere between, I would say 3 to 5 days. The book says 2 to 5 days. So having a set time that you are going to just concentrate on being together, eliminating distractions, so take time off of work so that you can be together 24/7 during those days.
We limited our use of technology. I just want to interject that. We didn't totally eliminate technology because we did need to still stay connected to a certain extent, but we limited our use.
Limited the use of technology, limited going out. We, other than
a couple lunches,
we stayed home, we stayed together. We had what we called relationship building activities. In the book, it calls it homework assignments. I didn't like that connotation. But
me neither. I'm glad we changed it.
But we went through some thought exercises to be able to really get the other person's perspective, come together and share our perspective with the other person so that we could understand the mindset and the motivations and where the other person was and come together and have a shared vision. So that's kind of what it entails, is having a structure, having and having scheduled discipline. Like you can't, I hate the word mandatory, and the book used it a lot. But I would say that it would be very difficult to have a domestic discipline boot camp where you are trying to focus on how to structure discipline without scheduling some discipline sessions.
Yeah.
So,
would you consider hosting one, and couples could pay to attend? Got it. Sorry. Whew, having a hard time reading.
No. The short answer.
We just don't have the ability to do that.
However.
I was going to say, however, I think you're going to say it.
We do plan on writing our own ebook about our version of boot camp and our experience as a guide that you can then take that and tailor it to what would work for your relationship, because that's the other part of that, is that each relationship is different. The challenges that each couple is going to face is going to be different. And so we would not on a large scale be able to guide people through this. But through an ebook, we can kind of help you determine what your relationship needs and talk about our experience, and definitely share the relationship building activities that we did and some that we didn't do. And so
what we're going to do is slowly work on that ebook throughout the year. We don't want to put a release date on it because we want to actually take our time with it. So we feel like if, we could get it out by next Christmas, that would be awesome. But we'll just see what happens. We're going to slowly work on it throughout the year. But as soon as we know that it's going to be released, we'll let you know.
But I definitely do think that domestic discipline boot camp is better as a self-guided experience.
Yes.
How long did it last?
4 days for us.
Yep, ours lasted for 4 days. That made sense for our schedule.
How many spankings were there? Should I include the maintenance?
Yeah.
So we had 4 maintenance spankings and 3 punishments, and I had an option to do a 4th punishment if I felt like we needed to go there. But by the 3rd day, I felt like we were fine, and so I didn't do that. But so 8 total that you have
over the course of the 4 days.
We did 7. The 8th one is optional. I hope that answers that question.
So basically we started every day with a maintenance spanking, and then we had 1 scheduled punishment per day for 3 days, with the 4th being an optional if he felt that it was necessary to address anything else. This was not necessary during our boot camp because I was very, very devoted to the process and very conscious about my behavior and about how I was participating. But if there were any signs of defiance, if there was any disobedience, if there was any type of resistance to any of the rules, that would have resulted in additional punishment.
Right.
So that did not happen for us, but
She did good.
That number can go up exponentially depending on how you respond. What were the rules during it? So
This is better for her to explain
I
anyway.
have
Just
my
like
handy little, I have my handy dandy notebook that will tell me what the rules were, because I just don't want to forget anything.
Yeah.
So the rules for me during boot camp were I needed to be in bed by midnight and out of bed by 9 a.m. I was responsible to complete the household duty and chores during boot camp, and really all the time, but especially during boot camp. When not performing a predetermined duty or chore, I was to come back and be in the same room as Coda. So basically, if he sent me off to do the dishes or to make lunch and I make lunch, then as soon as I'm done, then I come back and be with him. Immediately obey any and all directions given by Coda. And ask permission to do anything that has not been immediately directed by Coda, even if it was something in the predetermined schedule. So if we were sitting together, and this is just for instance, it did not happen because he was very aware of the schedule and very aware of directing the schedule. But if, for instance, he forgot to have me go and start lunch, even if that is in the schedule, if he did not tell me to do it, then I was to ask, like, can I go start lunch now? Eliminate distractions for the duration of boot camp. Coda held on to my phone and only allowed me to use it when he determined that it was appropriate. I didn't have use of my personal electronics except for when I was given explicit permission, which was rare. Now, because he was holding on to my phone, it was his responsibility to monitor my incoming calls and notifications to make sure that nothing important or pressing was
Especially like if our daughter needed us.
Needing immediate attention, yeah. Okay, Coda was to give me direction on how to spend my time. So if he wanted to go take a nap, he could determine if I needed to join him, or if I needed to do something else, he could tell me to take that time to read or take that time to do some, but he had to give me direction on how to spend my time. Coda will make all the decisions during the duration of the boot camp. So,
pretty self-explanatory there.
And then my last three were things that were part of my usual daily schedule: my water intake, making sure I took my vitamins, things that over the course of Christmas had gotten a little lax and a little out of routine, so we just wanted to throw that into the routine. So those were the rules.
And the last question is, would you do it again? And I think the answer is a resounding yes.
Yes.
If we feel like we need to do this again, I think even the time that we did it of the year would be something that I would personally say, hey, if we're going to do another boot camp, let's try and do that. However, we may decide that we want to do them twice a year. I don't know. We'll just see where our relationship is in that halfway point of the year and see if we need to do another one. But yeah. I would revisit this in a heartbeat.
It's
I think it's good.
You have the vacation time to take another long weekend in June or July if we want to.
Which I will be.
Regardless of if we do another boot camp.
I've got vacation that if I don't use it, I lose it. So I'm going to try to use it any chance I get. So.
Yeah, so when we were wrapping up that last day, I was like, let's do this again. Let's do this next year. And that will obviously be determined by necessity as well as ability. But I would absolutely do this just as like a little relationship tune-up every so often. I think once a year sounds amazing. I really loved the experience, to be honest. I kind of wish we could like live in that space.
Yeah, I honestly, yeah, it was a space that it was like, man, I wish I didn't. I kept joking with her that I wish money would just magically appear in the bank account so we could just live life like that.
But you know,
it's not the way it is.
have to get back to routines. But yeah,
Sadly.
I loved the boot camp experience. I would do it again in a heartbeat, and I just loved the concentrated time to focus on us as a couple and our relationship, and yeah, so definitely.
Sorry this was a long episode, but we wanted to make sure we answered everybody's questions. So
Thanks for joining us.